Welcome to The Global Signal, a podcast exploring how emerging technologies, international policy, and financial markets are reshaping global power. I'm Joshua Arnold.
And I'm Benjamin Fields. Each episode, we move beyond the headlines to examine the strategic dynamics that will matter not just this year, but decades from now.
How innovation drives competition, how capital flows influence geopolitics, and where cooperation remains possible in a rapidly changing world. Let's get started. Dr. Corey Holmes, welcome to The Global Signal. Dr. Corey Holmes is a former Foreign Affairs officer at the U.S. Department of State. He holds a PhD in African Studies and South African Politics from Howard University, and a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration with a specialization in accounting from Clark Atlanta University. Dr. Corey has over a decade of experience in academia and government, including serving as acting director for the Africa Subcommittee and PSM at the U.S. House Committee on Foreign Affairs. He is passionate about exploring the complexities of international relations and their impact on local communities, with a focus on fostering cross-cultural exchange and empowering the next generation of leaders. Dr. Holmes is also the author of Golf, Cigars, and Scotch, Balancing Fatherhood, Friendship, and Fine Living, which draws on his global experiences to provide practical guidance for integrating personal passions with family life and mentorship. In addition, Dr. Holmes is an advisor at AfroCom, a digital platform and super app designed to connect and empower the global Afro community through networking, fintech, edtech, e-commerce, and AI-driven insights. Dr. Corey Holmes, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you for having me.
Dr. Holmes, based on some of your diplomatic and international affairs experiences, I think there are clear ways that perhaps you can touch upon that have even influenced your book, Golf, Cigars, and Scotch, where you balance exploring personal passions with fatherhood and mentorship. Can you talk about how these experiences in diplomacy and international affairs have shaped your perspectives and the lessons you share in the book?
So navigating high stakes negotiations, cultural complexities, and often demanding travel schedules of diplomatic work taught me valuable lessons about prioritization, intentionality, and the art of being fully present in moments that count. Negotiating legislation on the Hill, or trying to teach my son to swim, or how to hit a 5-foot putt. So the book draws on insights from observing how leaders across different cultures approach work-life integration, friendship rituals, and mentorship traditions, but still recognizing that achievements mean little if they come at the cost of those meaningful relationships and personal fulfillment, right? Like I said, I love my time in the government space, but I mean, what I'm doing right now is so fulfilling. It's almost like I'm overcome with joy with it, right? But, that diplomatic practice of building trust through shared experiences, diplomats, we over meals, leisure activities, or informal settings, that's when the real diplomacy begins. It translates directly into my book's exploration of how golf outings, cigar conversations, and Scotch tastings become vehicles for genuine connection, mentorship, and legacy building, the next generation, which for me is my son. Ultimately, international affairs expose both the seductive pull of career achievement, always wanting to be the best, and the universal truth that transcends all cultures. Being fathers, being a good friend, and the cultivation of life's finer pleasures aren't distractions from important work, but rather the very substance of a life well lived. Lessons I hope that my book conveys, and can pass on to other fathers navigating their own journeys of meaningful engagement.
A lot of fathers struggle to integrate their personal interest with parenting responsibilities. And of course, your career is part of your personal interest. And so what strategies and mindset shifts from your book that people could go and read do you think would be most powerful, and things they should pay most attention to in terms of creating meaningful family experiences?
Self-care. I always use that. Self-care is prominent for me, So whether I'm viewing golf, cigars, or Scotch appreciation, it's me time, right? It doesn't compete with my family responsibilities. And that's what my book advocates for, right? Intentionally inviting my son into these worlds, minus the cigars, right? But when he's age appropriate, to observe, right? To learn, turning around a golf into a masterclass on patience. I mean, just this week, man. What's today? Wednesday. Monday, I shot a great round. Today, I stunk it up, right? Golf humbles you. Building integrity, being graceful in handling failure, right? As my son's 5, he doesn't like to lose right now. Whether we play a lot of games, Uno, Connect 4, chess, sorry, win or lose, we shake hands, good game, daddy, right? Or having a conversation with your loved one or your child is an opportunity for storytelling and wisdom sharing that might never emerge in everyday routines. So this mindset shift involves moving from guilt-driven compartmentalization, where fathers often feel they must choose between their passion and their presence, to integrating it, right? Where the rituals and communities surrounding these interests become vehicles for modeling values, building memories, and creating intergenerational continuity. This really means bringing your child or children to the driving range instead of sneaking away for solo practice, right? Love taking my son out to the putt-putt. Explaining why you choose certain proclivities, right? And in my case, Scotch and cigars. And what qualities I'm appreciating with those proclivities. But then most importantly, slowing down enough to prioritize the conversation and the connection with my son, right? And so this book emphasizes that children often remember not the perfect vacation, Disney tomorrow, or expensive experience, but the unhurried afternoon when Pop is fully present, right? Sharing something we genuinely love together, right? Playing cards, playing chess, playing Connect 4. That creates a space for authentic dialogue, right? And that this approach to fatherhood actually enriches rather than diminishes the enjoyment of, life's finer things, which is, man, the love of your children, which I think ultimately gives them a deeper purpose and shared meaning.
From your perspective, based on people who have read the book, whether it be people from Black families, Caucasian, or what have you, who is resonating most with this? And who is saying, I wish I experienced this type of connection with my father when I was growing up, or this is something I'm working on right now because perhaps I did not have the strongest relationship with my own father growing up.
So I definitely think my friends, my inner circle, the book definitely resonates with them. One, because they're in it. And their shared stories, experiences that we share together, that I've ultimately shared with the world. But I have also been pleasantly surprised where new friends have purchased the book and said, man, Corey, this is invaluable, right? Not necessarily, it wasn't necessarily about their friendship with their father, but it's like, okay, there is a community that I can reach out to where I don't have to feel alone, or I don't have to feel bad about wanting to do something for me, right? Again, it's that self-care piece, right? And so having a group of men fellowship with each other, doing the things that they like, organically, you just form bonds, right? And then those silos come down, and then you're able to talk about those most sacred treasures, which are your children, right? And say, hey, my son or daughter did this. What about your son and daughter? And they did this today. And how did you react? Or how did they react, right? You build a bond and trust, but you can't build that if you're, one, not like-minded, two, if you're not open to it, and then three, if you don't look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, okay, maybe I need to pivot on this. Maybe I need to change this a little bit, right? And so that has been most gratifying for me. It's not those that I know who purchased the book. It is those that I didn't know as well or didn't know at all reach out to me and said, wow, keep doing what you're doing. This really resonates. And I'm sharing it with my friends, my community, my comrades. And we're just going to, joke, because we do this. We joke and laugh and tell stories and, about our wives and our lives and our kids. And yes, there is a community for men, man, where we can be emotional, where we can be vulnerable. And so that's what I hope the reader ultimately takes out of it.
Well, it's something I am looking forward to diving into soon. And I mean, it's the holidays right now, and so this is a perfect time to gift, one's family members with a nice read. And I've heard some great things about it, so I'm looking to personally add it to my stocking stuffer and to have some good, whiskey and drinking over some nice rocks.
Absolutely.
It's nice to see that part of you shine. I think these podcasts a lot of times like to focus too much on stuff that's too serious, but not look at the person that's going on under the hood. And so to really understand like what your values are, and we can see the ways in which those translate into the way in which you interact in these different settings and with these other countries and with other diplomats. It's a really nice thing to see. And it's reassuring because it removes kind of that stereotype that we have that, there's certain types of ways that government people are. We know that there's good people in the government because of you. And so for our last question, we'd like to return to an engagement that you have with AfroCom, the digital ecosystem that supports Africa and its diaspora. And so we would like to know, how do you see platforms like this reshaping economic, cultural, and social collaboration across the continent? And what makes your particular engagement so unique compared to other digital platforms? And why did you personally choose to get involved with AfroCom?
I'll answer that first part first. So I believe by positioning AfroCom as a comprehensive digital ecosystem for Africa and its diaspora, it addresses a critical gap, right? The lack of unified platforms that facilitate commerce, cultural exchange, and social networking, specifically tailored to Africa's needs and its context. Economically, such platforms can democratize access to markets, allowing small businesses in Polokwane, for example, to connect with the diaspora consumers in Detroit or London, while facilitating remittances, investment flows, and knowledge transfer that previously required expensive intermediaries. Culturally, they create spaces where African narratives create content and innovations can circulate without being filtered through Western media platforms, fostering authentic representation and strengthening continental identity. But also socially, right? I believe the platform enables diaspora communities to maintain meaningful ties with their countries of origin while building solidarity networks across borders, potentially mobilizing collective advocacy on issues affecting the continent. A great space for AfroCom to be is to highlight these narratives that are often just dismissed. I believe if AfroCom can achieve this scale, it could accelerate Africa's digital transformation, reduce dependency on external tech giants, and create new models of South-South collaboration. Although I do know success will depend on addressing challenges like internet access disparities, digital literacy, regulatory fragmentation across the continent, and competition from established global platforms with far greater resources. And then in answering that second part of the question, I believe, unlike your Instagrams, your Facebooks, your LinkedIns, your TikToks, that these sites merely allow specifically African participation. We propose that Africa is built to address the specific needs of Pan-African collaboration, facilitating diaspora investment back to the continent, enabling cross-border trade among African entrepreneurs, amplifying authentic cultural content without that bias toward Western sensibilities, right? But also, I believe it demands, and this is very This is why I really got into this, because I understand there is a gap. And there's a plethora of gaps on the continent, having lived there, having worked there, having worked on issues there. There's a deep commitment with me to this mission. And it truly stems from understanding the empowerment requires more representation on these digital platforms. I mean, this device right here, that's all Africans know, right? They leapfrog desktops and laptops. It's always been consumable for them. And so with 70% of the demographic being 30 years or younger, I mean, the time is now, right? And I've witnessed through diplomatic and international work how digital colonialism perpetuates dependency and how fragmented connectivity limits the continent's collective power. And it becomes imperatively clear to me. The global Afro community needs digital spaces where its billions of people on the continent, plus us in the diaspora, can collaborate on our own terms, control our own data and narratives, and build economic networks that don't require Western intermediaries. I truly believe it represents a bet on the African innovation and self-determination in this digital age, recognizing that the next phase of Africa's development won't come from aid or external platforms. My old boss, Karen Bash, used to say, not aid, but trade and investment, right? Now we're saying not aid, but digital currency, right? And so we must connect the continent's talent, its resources, and the diaspora, because that's the human capital, through this technology designed by Africans for Africans in the diaspora. I believe this is a vision worth championing because it fundamentally reshapes who controls the narrative and ultimately who controls the continent's future. Josh and I were talking about this previously. When you have so many opportunities, if you will, you tend to try to cover everything, right? Instead of just hone in on a few specific priorities, right? And so that's what we're consistently doing. We're doing that diligently and bringing this product to market. But I think we have the most valuable piece. It's needed, right? It's needed. And so everything else we'll figure out, but we know the product is needed. And, with folks like Joshua lending that helping hand, we'll get to where we need to go.
I've worked on a few, startup concepts, been on a few startup teams myself. And so I can definitely speak to some of these different pain points that the general founder community has, right? Rome was not built in a day, and clearly there's an opportunity to create a compelling use case for people who could potentially benefit from using a digital platform ecosystem such as AfroCom. Now, how do you make sure that you are, when it comes to the product development roadmap, right? When it comes to the different expertise required technically to ensure that, you can create the necessary wireframes, right? You can address any bugs that come up from a technical maintenance standpoint. Those are all things that a lot of founders don't necessarily think of. They think of, okay, let's just build this app and take it from there. And of course, you want to ship things quickly. And so I think, as you, Dr. Holmes, assist as an advisor with AfroCom, I think it's going to be quite exciting to dive into this kind of narrative crafting that we all can agree definitely has some utility to a lot of different people. So Dr. Corey Holmes, grateful to have you on this episode of The Global Signal. We talked about a wide array of topics. It's always a pleasure to connect with you, Dr. Holmes. And so thank you again for being on our podcast.
Thank you so much, Joshua and Ben. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. it was really nice to see the expertise, the experiential expertise that you had on the ground. I have particular things that I care about and things that I think characteristics that I would like to show in myself, and I see those in you, and I know that they are in the book as well. And so it was really great to see, and I'm looking forward to following you from here on out. And I'm sure everyone's going to love the podcast, and they learned just as much from you as I did from you.